Welcome to the Payback Vault, your go-to hub for revenge stories, epic payback, and jaw-dropping karma. If you love thrilling tales of justice and dramatic moments, you're in the right place. Betrayal. There's nothing like the shock and pain of realizing someone you trusted has been lying to you. When you find out that someone you gave your heart to has betrayed you, it can shake you to your core. That's exactly what happened to me when I found out my boyfriend, Ethan, had been cheating on me. At first, I was devastated. But once that devastation settled, something else took its place, something colder, and much more dangerous. The discovery that changed everything. It was an ordinary night at the bar where I worked, a quiet evening with just a few regulars. I was tired, looking forward to closing up and heading home. Then she walked in, this striking woman, with an almost intimidating presence. She looked out of place in my bar, with her polished appearance and the quiet confidence she carried. She ordered a martini, and as I mixed her drink, I felt her gaze on me the entire time. It was unsettling, like she was sizing me up. When I finally set the martini in front of her, she leaned in, fixing me with an intense look. "You're Ethan's girlfriend, aren't you?" she asked, her voice calm but her eyes gleaming with something sinister. My heart skipped a beat, I felt my stomach twist, and I managed to keep my voice steady. How do you know Ethan?" I asked carefully, forcing a casual tone. She gave a little shrug, her lips curling into a smirk. "Oh, because I'm his girlfriend too." It was like the room froze. Her words were still echoing in my head as I stared at her, trying to process what she'd just said. I wanted to believe she was joking or mistaken, but something about her confidence told me she was serious. She waited a moment, clearly enjoying my shock, before sliding her phone across the bar toward me. "Here," she said, "take a look. You deserve to know the truth." I picked up her phone with trembling hands, dreading what I was about to see. But there it was, right in front of me, photo after photo of her and Ethan together. Selfies, texts, and messages he'd sent her, telling her how much he missed her, how she was the only one in his life. They'd taken weekend trips together, stayed in cozy cabins. He'd sent her flowers, written her messages that were identical to the ones he'd sent me. Each new message I scrolled through felt like a punch in the gut. This was the man I thought I loved. The man who had whispered promises of a future to me, who had made me believe in us, and he was doing the exact same thing with her. The worst part? She was smirking, almost amused, as if she enjoyed watching my reaction. "I thought you'd figured it out by now," she said, a hint of mockery in her voice. "You're just another one of his muses. He likes to keep a few of us around, says it inspires his art." She tossed the words out so casually, and her laughter, that low, mocking laugh, made something in me snap. I wanted to scream, to throw her out, to break something, anything, but instead, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I wasn't going to let her see me break. I just gave her a tight smile, handed her phone back, and watched as she left, her heels clicking on the floor as if she'd won something. But she hadn't won. Oh, no. Ethan and Marissa were about to learn what it felt like to be hurt, humiliated, and abandoned. They were about to learn exactly what I was capable of. The pain turns to anger. I spent the next few days in a daze. I couldn't stop replaying the conversation in my head. The photos, the messages, the promises that he'd broken. The pain was sharp and overwhelming, but beneath it, there was something else. Something colder. Anger. The kind of anger that builds slowly, until it fills every part of you. I wasn't going to sit back and let Ethan get away with this. No, he had to pay. Ethan had been talking about his upcoming art exhibit for months. He called it his masterpiece, a series of paintings called Unfiltered Emotions. Each piece, he claimed, was inspired by a meaningful relationship in his life. I remember him describing it with such pride, telling me that his art was a reflection of the people he'd let into his heart. The irony of it was nauseating. I wondered how many other women had fallen for his lies, how many had thought they were his muse only to be discarded. I kept seeing him, pretending everything was normal. I laughed at his jokes, listened to his stories, and played the part of the doting girlfriend. But in reality, I was plotting. Every moment I spent with him, I was gathering evidence, piecing together the truth, preparing for the moment when I would reveal everything. The jackpot. One day, I told him I needed to pick up a few things from his place. He didn't hesitate to let me in, too confident to suspect anything. But as soon as I was alone in his apartment, I started searching. I went through his drawers, his desk, his closet, everywhere I could think of. And in the back of his closet, hidden in a shoebox, I found the jackpot. It was a pile of unpaid bills, letters from collection agencies, and loan agreements from friends and family. Ethan was drowning in debt. His artistic lifestyle wasn't funded by his talent or hard work, it was funded by other people's money. He'd borrowed thousands from anyone who would listen, spinning sob stories about needing support for his art. He'd even borrowed money from his family, promising he'd pay them back once his exhibit took off. I took photos of everything, my mind racing with possibilities. This wasn't just about exposing him as a cheater anymore. This was about exposing him as a fraud, a manipulator, a liar who had used everyone around him to prop himself up. I wasn't just going to break up with him, I was going to destroy him. The website of truth. Over the next week, I poured my heart into creating a website dedicated to revealing the truth about Ethan. I called it The Real Ethan, and it was a masterpiece of its own. Each page was dedicated to one of his paintings, and for each piece, I paired the artwork with the ugly reality behind it. For his piece on a trust, I included screenshots of his messages to Marissa, to me, and to a few other women I tracked down. Each message was filled with empty promises, declarations of love, assurances that we were the only ones. For his piece on support, I posted photos of his unpaid bills, revealing the extent of his debt and his reliance on others to fund his life. I wanted everyone to see that his art was nothing more than a web of lies. But I didn't stop there. I found a way to link the gallery's tablets to my website, so that when the time came, I could reveal everything to the world. The gallery was set up with tablets that were supposed to display his creative journey, showing the process behind each piece, but instead, they would show the real story. Gathering the others. As I prepared for the big night, I reached out to Marissa, and together, we tracked down a few more of Ethan's exes. Each one had a story, each one had been used and discarded, just like me. It was almost unbelievable how many women he'd hurt, how many lives he'd tangled himself into. We formed a kind of alliance, united by the pain he'd caused, and together, we planned our revenge. One of the women knew a reporter at a local newspaper, and she arranged for a story to be written about the exhibit, but she made sure to hint that there was a hidden story behind the art, something that would reveal the true inspiration behind each piece. The reporter was intrigued, and our plan was set. Ethan was about to face the most public, most humiliating downfall of his life. The night of the exhibit, the calm before the storm. The night of the exhibit finally arrived. I dressed to impress, slipping into a sleek, elegant outfit that made me feel powerful, like I was stepping into battle. The gallery was packed with people, critics, patrons, art enthusiasts, all eager to see Ethan's work. He'd done a good job of building up anticipation, and I had to give him credit, but little did they know, the real show was about to begin. Ethan spotted me across the room and waved, flashing that charming smile that had once made me melt. Now, it only made me feel sick. He had no idea what was coming. He gave his speech, talking about the power of emotions, and how each piece was a reflection of his authentic relationships. I could barely contain my smirk as I listened, knowing that his web of lies was about to unravel. As he finished, the crowd applauded, captivated by his words, by his supposed vulnerability. And that's when I made my move. With a quick tap on my phone, I activated the tablets around the gallery. In an instant, they switched from his creative journey to my website, displaying every lie, every betrayal, every ugly truth. His texts to multiple women, his debt, his deceit, it was all there, for everyone to see. The crowd's reaction. At first, there was stunned silence. People blinked, staring at the screens, trying to process what they were seeing. Then, the whispers started. Patrons exchanged horrified glances, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others looking around as if to confirm they weren't imagining it. A few critics who had praised his work earlier now looked on with outright disgust. Ethan's face turned pale. I watched as he realized what was happening, the dawning horror in his eyes as he tried to comprehend the disaster unfolding around him. What is this? He stammered, his voice barely a whisper as he looked at me, his confidence shattered. Oh, just a little artistic reveal, I replied, my voice cold. I watched him struggle, his eyes darting around the room as he searched for a way out, a way to salvage his crumbling reputation. Marissa stepped forward, holding up her phone, showing everyone the messages he'd sent her. The reporter's cameras flashed, capturing every moment, every detail of his downfall. He tried to grab her phone, but she pulled back, keeping her distance, a look of pure disgust on her face. The final confrontation. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse for him, I saw his family and friends, the very people he'd borrowed money from, begin to confront him. They each had a look of betrayal, anger, and disappointment as they demanded explanations and, more importantly, their money back. It was a public shaming of the highest order, and Ethan had nowhere to hide. One by one, they called him out. "I thought this exhibit was to pay us back," one friend said, his voice shaking with anger. "You told me this would be your breakthrough." The room had transformed into a storm of confrontation, voices rising, accusations flying. Ethan looked around, a mixture of desperation and humiliation on his face. Every lie, every debt, every broken promise was laid bare, and there was no escaping the consequences. The alley showdown. When the gallery finally cleared out, Ethan tried to escape through the back alley, but I was waiting for him. He looked at me with a mix of anger and desperation, his mask of confidence completely shattered. "Why?" he whispered, his voice raw, broken. "Why would you do this to me?" I looked him straight in the eyes, feeling a sense of closure, of justice. "Because you needed to feel the pain you caused," I said calmly. "This is what unfiltered emotions look like, Ethan." He stared at me, speechless, before turning and disappearing into the night, alone, his life in ruins. So, what do you think? Would you have done the same in my place? Tell me in the comments below. And if you love stories like these, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a tale of epic revenge. Some people want to play games with other people's hearts. Let's see how they like it when they lose everything.